what's happening is we're getting human trafficked. But now I'm like, how do I manipulate the situation just to have my friend be more on board? Because I think she's still too chill in this situation.
Right.
I look at the driver and I'm like, I'm really not feeling well from the boat. Like, do you mind just stopping? I see a gas station. I'm like, do you mind stopping at the gas station? I'm not feeling well. I just want to go to the washroom. I'm going to get back in the Uber. If you could just stop for a couple of minutes.
Right.
He's like, no, mamacita. I'm tired. You're my last shift of the day. I don't want to stop. No.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Chemical X podcast. It's your girl, Veronica.
And your other girl, Alessia.
And as usual, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, and leave us 5 stars on all of our audio platforms. And also, if you haven't checked out our website, chemicalxpodcast.com, go check it out and get yourself one of our trucker caps or a baseball cap, whatever floats your boat. They are super cute and super fashionable for summer. So get on that and support our little establishment we got going on here.
Also, side note, Veronica and I are both sick. So if you're wondering why it sounds like two different girls are podcasting today, it's because it is.
It's two different girls. We're calmer, raspier. I always wish that my voice was like this all the time. Like that little rasp.
I don't like the sound of my voice right now.
Because you're in the stage where you're like, your nose is blocked.
You're in the Brooke Davis stage.
Yeah.
I'm like in the stage of, are you taking vitamins? Like, what's going on? Why is your cold not healed?
100%.
So today we have a little bit more of a serious, I guess, serious topic.
It's a good thing I wear my bikini. Dive right in.
So we're filming on a Saturday, which is something we absolutely never do. I think the last time we did that was a year ago, honestly. The sun's coming out. And there's one topic I'd rather not speak about. It is a serious topic, but today is the day. It's this one. So a couple of months ago, during Christmas time, I went to Miami for New Year's, and I went with a couple of friends.
I can't just slide into being serious. It's actually
I know. I don't even know how to do this. I know I'm laughing, but like it's really like my most painful story.
Yeah, really. I feel like it's better to laugh. Better laugh than cry. You're like, I'm gonna do both.
Yeah. So in December, I had gone down to Miami. You know, it was Christmas time. My friends and I were just like, we're gonna get away. We're gonna beat the snow and just do New Year's in Miami. Mm-hmm. So I had landed in Miami with not you because you didn't get on your flight.
Not me.
But actually alone.
Yeah.
I got on the flight alone. Normally when you get off the plane, you know, my first thought is I'm gonna call an Uber.
Right.
So when I get to the airport, I start hearing the announcements speaking about human trafficking. They're
in
like,
the airport?
At the airport, yeah. They're basically just saying, keep an eye out because it's been happening a lot. And I guess they've been getting a lot of calls and people going missing.
Right.
So they just like alarmed me there. And I heard it. And you guys all know if you listen to the podcast that being taken has always been my biggest fear. Like, I think you could agree with that, right?
Well, I think we spoke about it in the past, but Alessia's like very afraid of getting kidnapped. And I keep telling her no one wants a 27-year-old.
Yeah.
Jeez. Allah, maybe you should get a ear necklace. Maybe you'll be safe that way. But no, she'll run to her car even if it's daylight, you know? Like that's your personal biggest fear.
Yeah, I feel like it might be because in another life I was taken and I escaped. I don't know what it is, but there's this fear I have.
Okay.
Ever since young, to be honest.
Phobia, as
we
could say.
Yeah, and the weird thing about me is that I feel like I'm fearless. Like I want to jump out of a plane. I want to do all these crazy things.
Yeah.
I'm fearless, but that's the one area where I'm very scared.
Yeah.
It's very, very
Which
weird.
I find is funny because I feel like people who are usually like that
fearless
no, people who are usually afraid of getting kidnapped or afraid of those situations tend to like not travel as much, tend to like not do those things. But I feel like you're also open to doing that shit.
Yeah.
So it's like funny how, but like obviously you could be whatever, but you know what I mean? Like I feel like usually people who are really scared of that are like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do all this stuff. They're a little more.
Yeah. I wonder if I just trained my mind. When I grew up, I was actually very scared of like roller coasters and heights. Right. I was very scared growing up with that, and I didn't want to be that person, so I would just push myself.
Right.
So I wonder if that's what it was, and if I didn't, I would probably be that in every area of my life.
Right.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So If you're a guy or girl listening, we have partnered up with the best sponsor for you, which is Every Jewels.
So everything that you're looking for when it comes to accessories, whether it's just jewelry or even phone cases, tote bags, anything like that, head on to Every Jewels. And what I love about their stuff is that it actually doesn't tarnish. So you can wear it in the shower. It's waterproof. I actually wear my birth year here so that everybody knows that I am actually not Gen Z and I am actually a millennial, as much as I try to slide on by. Suddenly people stop asking me how old I am because they just, look down on my neck. They see 1'9" and they say, never mind, old. She's old.
For a second, I thought you were proud about it. So I was like,
No.
excuse me.
It's crazy when you start finding out that everyone's in the 2000s. You're like, must be nice, huh?
Yeah.
If you, like me, want to rock your year or any other accessory, head on to Every Jewels and use our discount code
Chemical X at checkout to receive 20% off your entire order. Whatever, take an Uber, everything's fine. Get to my location, everything's beautiful. Okay? So I feel like once you hear that and then you get in an Uber and everything's fine, you kind of think like, well, you're invincible, like nothing's gonna happen now.
Right.
But you're aware, which is good.
Yeah.
Then at some point on the trip, my nail had broke.
Right.
So I was like, hey, I want to go get my nails fixed. And it just so happened that because I was there for another like week and a half, I was like, I'll get it fixed. If it was like 3-4 days, I would have left the nail and just been like, fuck it, I'll fix it when I get back.
Yeah.
So I'm at the nail salon and, the woman starts asking me like, oh, like, how long are you here for? Like, how are you getting around? And I was like, oh, like, I've just been like taking an Uber. And she was like, oh, like, I don't know if you're aware, but human trafficking is really happening. So just be careful. Always have like peppermint spray with you. You never know when you're going to need it. It's been happening a lot. Mm-hmm. So that's when like, I was just like, okay, like, is this a serious like matter? This is really going on.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm with a friend, like we always think that because you're with a friend, it's
safe.
Totally fine. You always feel that, like, you just feel a little bit more safe.
Right.
And so whatever, that day again, we took an Uber, totally fine. Everything was good. And at this point, it was just like, we all knew about it because then my other friend had flown in and he was like, by the way, did you hear on the intercom at the airport it's going on? So it was just like everyone was aware of it.
Yeah.
So my girlfriends and I were going on a boat. Her boyfriend had invited us on a boat and he was like, it's leaving in 45 minutes. Hurry up. So we're like, okay, perfect, whatever. So we call an Uber, and just that day in general, we were kind of making jokes about it. And that's how I deal with everything in my life that petrifies me. I'm just like, might as well make a joke out of it. So my friend had called an Uber, and the Uber car that it had said on the app was not the car that showed up, but it was the guy and everything.
Okay.
So he was like, my friend was just like, why does it say Nissan here, but your car? He's like, oh, I forgot to change it on the app because I had switched cars.
Right.
So then I was like, my friend's like, shut up and get in the car. Like, don't even start with me. We get to the boat. Everything's fine. We have a day on the boat, and now we're getting off the boat, and whatever, we're a little bit drunk, but I'm still sober. But whatever, we're tipsy. We drank, and we're getting off, and I'm just laughing with my friend, and I'm like, you better cover up there, we don't want to get human trafficked because our tits are out. Like, close up there, close up shop. And my friend's like laughing. We're just like making jokes.
Yeah.
And my security, after hearing that human trafficking is happening, is just like to always reinsure that my window is open.
Right.
We're in Miami. It's hot.
Wasn't that what the nail girl had told you to do also?
No, it's just always been my thing.
Right.
I would always make sure that even when I was crossing like a bridge and we're on water, that my window was open.
Right.
Just in case like the bridge falls or whatever and I have a chance of surviving, like my window's open and I'm not drowning.
Right.
And I can't open the door.
Good.
Okay? The window's open, I can swim out. That's always been my thing. So
you're not going to die, because the bridge is
No,
facing.
no. But just that,
because the window's open.
I just rather be safe type thing.
Yes.
But then I'm ready to jump out of a plane. Make it make sense. Anyway, we're getting to the Uber, and before getting in and even closing the door, I'm trying to open the window, and the window's locked. But now I'm getting in the car, and I'm just like, I'm telling the Uber driver, even before he's taking off, like, my window's not opening. Like, I want my window down.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, like, why? Like, I'm going to put the air conditioning. Like, we don't need the windows down. Mm-hmm. And that to me was like my first sign of being alarmed, because I feel like whenever you get in an Uber, they're supposed to do exactly what you say. It's kind of like, I'm paying you.
Yeah.
Do as I say. If I'm asking for the window down, the window should be down.
Right.
So that was kind of like the first sign in my head, because why would you fight me? Like, he really fought me on, no, I'm going to put air conditioning. Like, you really don't need it. So I was like, I was in the car and that really stressed me out.
Yeah.
And then, again, I was like, can you put down the window? Like, I'm not feeling well from the boat. Like, please put down the window. Anyway, so I'm sitting diagonal from the driver. Like, my friend is sitting in back of the driver and I'm sitting diagonal. So I see him control my window and put it down like 40%.
Right.
And then I see him click the button to child lock it.
Right.
So now I'm like, okay, yo, what the fuck is going on? If I'm asking for the window open, first of all, why do you even have child lock on a window? You can't. You shouldn't. It should be to my discretion.
Yeah.
So now I see that and I'm not going to lie, I start tripping out. I'm like, what the fuck? I've never in my life had this experience. Now I'm hearing human trafficking is going on. It's just like alarming to me, you know? And my friend I'm sitting next to, you obviously don't want to, you want to be discreet about it, you know? You don't want to start making it like known.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to explain it to her and she thinks I'm paranoid, which I get because my friends know me and I am a paranoid person. So I get it. It's like the first thing to do is just brush me off and be like, Alessia, stop. You know, which I think you would have probably done too. You think?
Well, I think anyone would have done that, because also when you feed into someone who's paranoid over a situation, it's like you're just making this worse for everyone. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, it's like you said, the first time the car was the wrong brand. Like if everyone would have fed into that, you're making something where there isn't. So it's like so hard to judge when someone is worried about something. Like your instinct is just like, no, it's fine. Like you're overthinking it, you know?
Yeah. So we're continuing to drive now. I'm the only one who has a window down and it's 40% and I'm freaking the fuck out, okay? And then he starts being like, where are you guys from? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm already like, my mind is there, okay? So now my friend who's in the passenger seat, Canadian from Montreal. I'm, by the way, guys, battling so much right now. I want to kill my friend. I want to kill the driver. I'm like, Alessia, this is the mode where you have to save yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but all our family is here. Like, our whole family is here and they're waiting for us.
Yeah.
Like, I start saying shit that's like...
No one would say.
No one would say, you know? Like, just to save myself.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, nice. From Canada. Okay. Now, we're continuing to drive. And at a point, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to pull out my phone and just see, like, the distance of where we're going and the time. And... I put Waze. Now, I don't know if he was using another app. I don't think he was using Waze. Guys, everything became like foggy to me at this point. But I see that the time that it's to get to my place and the time on his maps is different. Now, look, it could be traffic time Miami, like you're taking a different route. But regardless, the time difference was like about like 15 minutes. And that to me like tripped me out a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the time. And I'm looking at my friend and I'm just like, look at the time on the app and look at the time like it's supposed to be to my condo. But she's still like, okay, chill. Maybe he's taking another route, you know? Yeah. And at this point, I'm like, I'm pretty aware that I feel like what's happening is we're getting human trafficked. But now I'm like, how do I manipulate the situation just to have my friend be more on board? Because I think she's still too chill in this situation.
Right.
So I was like, I look at the driver and I'm like, I'm really not feeling well from the boat. Like, do you mind just stopping? I see a gas station. I'm like, do you mind stopping at the gas station? I'm not feeling well. I just want to go to the washroom. I'm going to get back in the Uber. If you could just stop for a couple of minutes.
Right.
He's like, no, mamacita. I'm tired. You're my last shift of the day. I don't want to stop. No. So now I'm like, okay, guys, it's one thing an Uber driver doesn't want to open your window. It's another thing now when he's holding you against your will, when you're saying you're not feeling well. I'm literally saying I'm going to throw up. I don't feel well from the boat. I drank. Like, please stop on the side. And he's like, no, I'm not stopping. And any normal Uber driver would be like, I don't want you to puke in my car. Yeah. So why are you not allowing me out? Yeah. So I did manipulation there just in order to make sure what was happening was happening. And it was. So now my friend starts tripping, okay? So my friend actually works in human resources. So she's very internal.
It sounded like you're about to say human trafficking.
No.
She actually is a human trafficker, so she knows what's going on. That's actually her homie.
That's why she's telling me to shut the fuck up. So she's very internal and I'm very external, which I think in this situation is a recipe for disaster and also for saving your life.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like internally just like messaging a bunch of people, sending them their location, telling them that we're tripping out a bit, like this is going on, okay?
Right.
So, but she's not letting me know that she agrees with me,
Right.
which I think was the most difficult part because I was kind of just trying to get her
To, like,
approval and
yeah.
agree, but she knows how I am and she's like, I cannot like feed into Alessia because now if we both start chipping, like God knows what Alessia's gonna do, you know? I'm better off just like doing my internal work and just ignoring Alessia because I know she started tripping when
he didn't wanna
when he
stop.
didn't want to stop. I know, but she wasn't looking at me.
Right.
I was looking at her and she wasn't looking at me. So then when he's not stopping, I start like reacting. I'm like, I just told you I'm not feeling well. Stop the car.
Yeah.
And then the Uber driver starts driving faster. So now I'm really like, the moment has come in my life. The fear I have feared my entire fucking life.
Yeah.
It's happening and it's happening in broad daylight. So now I start like yelling at the driver and I'm like, open my window. Like I can't breathe. Like I'm not feeling well. And he's like, Mamacita, relax. And then he's like, fine, you want your window open? I'll open your window. And then opens both our windows, okay? To like relieve me from freaking out and stressing because he sees I'm freaking the fuck out.
Right.
So now he had opened our windows fully. But like, even the fact that he's like, okay, fine, I'll give you your windows open to shut you up. Like, that's fucked up.
Right.
Why can't I use my own window?
You know?
So then he starts driving faster. And I think like my friend and I just kind of saw red. It was really like a scary moment. And it was like a moment in the movies where I look at my friend, our windows are both fully open. And it was like I said 3, 2, 1 without saying 3, 2, 1. But I looked at her, looked at the window. And that was my cue of like, I'm jumping out of the fucking window. It's either, it's legs or life at this point, and I'm going to go for life. Right. So I look at her and I jumped out of the fucking moving vehicle. And people are always like, but I don't get it. How did you do it? And I wouldn't even be able to explain it because when you see black, when you just, everything to you just...
It's like adrenaline.
It's adrenaline, exactly. You don't think like, oh, I might break a leg. I might lose something. Like, I thought about taking my bag with me, though. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty funny. I don't know even know why I took my bag. Like, I mean, yeah, I know why I took it, but... Damn, it's not like my passport was there and I really needed it. And like, even though you don't think of those things, you know? Anyway, so the window was open and I got out. From what I remember is I got out, I put my ass on the window. So I got out like facing the driver, if that makes sense. I didn't jump out like I like face front. Like I put my butt like on the window, then took my head out as I'm holding the top of the car.
Right.
And then like kind of
swung your legs out.
I don't know that part. I don't know what I did, but I swung out and I didn't even fall. So at this point, when I'm doing that, the driver sees me and he's tripping the fuck out. So he's trying to pull my leg back in the car. He's freaking out now, you know? So like he's trying to yank my leg. I know my friend who's right beside me is like, what the hell is going on? Like I didn't get the sign 3, 2, 1. She's just staring at all this happen, you know? So I get out of the truck and I'm like running a bit and then I stop to look back because I'm like, hello, like where's my friend? The car is stopped, like jump out of the window. So I'm kind of like walking now, but backwards. And then I finally see her jump out of the car. And then she's totally like calm about it. She's just walking and she's just messaging a bunch of people, letting them know where we are, sending locations. She's just walking to the gas station. And I'm like yelling at her and I'm like, run, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like run. So anyway, whatever. She finally like runs with me. We get to the gas station. And I think the gas station was the most petrifying feeling because you're still not out, you know? Like right now, for an Uber driver who's human trafficking, I'm a liability right now because I escaped an Uber and now I have the ability to report him and like his life is over.
Right.
So me being out in the streets, out in a gas station doesn't make it more safe. And in Miami, just being in a gas station, it's not exactly like, oh, you're safe, you're near a camera. Yeah. So like I think that's really when the rush happened for both me and my friend. We were really like, we're in here, there's a camera, but we don't feel safe. You start to feel like everyone is kind of like against you. You feel like you're in the movie Kidnapped. Like every single thing is happening and it's happening because of what happened to us, you know, like
Right.
no one who's coming in the gas station is just putting gas. Like everybody is linked, you know,
Yeah.
and it's hard to not think that way when you're in a situation where you're like fending for your life.
Yeah.
So we're in the gas station and I'm just so scared we're gonna get kicked out. So I'm there like getting Gatorades, anything I could think of. Like I'm shaking, I'm pulling out my card, I'm trying to pay, and like my card's not working because I'm shaking so much. So yeah, like my hand is shaking, I can't even pay. My friend's in the back of the gas station just sending things. So I'm just like, I'm trying to like buy things to just like.
But at this point, she's like agreeing.
She's agreeing, but I don't fully still know because she jumped out of the car later and she was walking afterwards. I still felt like I was alone in this because she was in the back and I didn't know. So I'm getting Gatorades and I'm still like, does my friend think I'm crazy right now, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm getting Gatorades for us. I'm paying. And then I'm going to her and I'm like giving it to her. And I'm like, do you agree with me? She's like, yes, Alessia. Like, I can't talk right now. I'm in shock.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, okay, I get why she didn't tell me earlier because then when she agreed with me, the whole experience at the gas station just leveled up. Like now I was like, oh my God, you know?
Because sometimes when you still feel like sometimes when you're paranoid about something, you kind of know you're paranoid. So in the back of your mind, like you're like, this also could be not true. You get what I'm saying? So I think when someone like confirms your fears, it just feels like I have every right to be losing my shit right now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Which is why at the beginning, why I said, like, you know, you tend to not agree with people who are like tripping out about something, even if you're kind of like, like maybe seems weird. Just because like confirming someone's fear like that just makes it worse in a way.
Exactly.
You know?
So like I saw her really like in a moment of like, she was in so much shock. She was freaking out. She was like, I don't know what to do right now. I'm just making a bunch of calls. Like I'm trying to like get us. She's like, I'm going to get us out of this situation. And I'm just like, somebody save me. You know, like I can't even react because I'm just focused on like.
But in this situation, it's like, you're not going to go call another Uber. You know what I mean?
But
so it's
that
like,
was the biggest issue is like, once we're in the gas station, okay, I'm just kind of like, obviously this is not done now. The people who are involved in what's going on need to catch us.
Right.
So like we're not safe at the gas station and there was a bunch of people that were coming in and were fucking shady. And she was feeling that too. And that was the stressful part is that we're in this confinement where we're, you know, the cameras could turn off at any point, you know? And then it just became weird because there was like a gray truck that was, you know, just like parked. Like the Uber driver never came back into the gas station, which I think if he was like not trying to be that, he would have came in and been like, look, like I'm not trying to.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, but either way, like the setup of what was going on the outside of the gas station was very clear what was going on. Like two people were hovered around the door. There was a truck that was just like chilling there. There was a bunch of people that were just coming in and just getting like chocolate bars. It wasn't for gas. It was none of that. It was just like, it was a whole setup.
But you're saying like this was like a group of people who were all together?
I think what they do is that there's the Uber driver that's taking you to the destination and then there's the truck that follows behind. So I mean, there was a truck that was laid out right in front of the gas station and I was by the camera watching the whole setup and the two people just smoking and staying by there. Like, why would you just get out of a car and just be chilling on the outside of a gas station? You're not putting gas, you're not there, and then a bunch of people are just coming in, and then even some of them were like, I wasn't even near the line to pay. I was just holding my Gatorade, like scared, you know, like I was in no shape or form to talk to. Like, you knew I wasn't talking to anyone. I wasn't like, it was just not what it was about. And they were like, do you want to go? Do you want to pay? Like, go before me in line. I'm nowhere near the line to pay to get out. They were trying to get me to get out of the gas station.
Right.
That was the whole thing. So I'm on the phone. I don't trust calling an Uber. I have no idea what my friend's doing at the back of the gas station, but she's trying to figure shit out. And I decide to just call my friends who we were on the boat with. And I'm like, look, guys, it's really fucked up situation. Just please. And they know I'm like paranoid. So they're like, okay, like, we're actually just getting an Uber now. We're going to come get you. And I'm like, okay, I didn't trust calling the cops. Like at this point, you almost feel like everyone is shady and you just want to feel safe. And the best result for me was just to have, it was going to take too much time for anything to feel safe. The best bet for me at this point was just like, they were a bunch of guys in an Uber.
Yeah.
Just come get us. That
Yeah.
was the best result at this point, because anybody we had called that we were going to feel safe was going to take 20 to 25 minutes, and we didn't want to. And they were like 8 to 9 minutes away. So we're just like, you are in a big SUV. You're like literally 6 guys. Like, one girl, like, just please come get us.
Yeah.
So that 8 minutes felt like the longest 8 minutes of my entire life.
100%.
And I know that my friend's boyfriend who had called Uber, was coming to get us, was like, I feel like Alessia might just be tripping out.
Yeah.
When they got to the gas station and he came in the gas station to physically grab us and put us in the Uber, he was like, that was the weirdest, sketchiest vibe. Like, the people, like, what was going on at the gas station, like, I thought you were crazy, and then like I saw it for myself. And that same gray truck that is here at the gas station was roaming around, like, before we were getting on the boat and afterwards. There was a gray truck that was like circling around. So I think what's going on is that Ubers stay at certain locations where they know people might be getting off a dock, a boat, drunk, where it's easy, like, hot girls are going to be there.
Right.
It's kind of easy to just like get
Easy target,
and you get the call right away, right? Because you're staying around that area. So if someone calls, you're the closest there.
Exactly.
And then there's that gray truck was the same fucking gray truck that was roaming around while we were getting off and off on the boat, but they didn't realize that at the time. But then when they came to pick us up at the gas station, they were like, yo, that's the gray truck that was circling when we were getting on the boat and off the boat. So to me, when I was just in the Uber, at this point, I was just like, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust this Uber we're in. Like, he's looking back in the mirror and I'm like, he's fucking in on it too. Like, I just had so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And only once, like, we got in the Uber did I look at my friend and I was like, she's like, I literally can't believe what just happened. Like, I'm freaking the fuck out. Like, she fell when she jumped out. Like, she was smaller than me. Like, she was all bruised up and stuff. But I didn't want to go home at this point. It was just, like, the adrenaline. Like, I was just like, oh, my God. Like, I'm fucking scared. I'm not getting in another Uber. So we had really, like, just chilled with them at their place. And it was just the weirdest experience. Then we had reported it. Uber had called us. We're in a state of shock. My friend's trying to explain the story of what happened. It was just like the weirdest feeling. And that's when I learned that anxiety exists. And I'm now an anxiety girl. Like, I just have anxiety now. Like, it's like, Ubers to me freak me out. Like, I never in my life looked past, like, oh my God, a male is driving me. Like, I wonder what he could do to me. Like, I never, ever had that state of mind.
Yeah.
As much as I was someone like, oh my God, don't kidnap me. That never crossed my mind. And now, like, it's been a journey for sure.
I mean, I think it's just like when something like that happens, it just makes you second guess. Like you said, like, you're at the gas station and you're like, everyone's in on it. Like, you don't trust anyone. And I think that's the mindset it puts you in even after. So it's like, no matter what you're doing, you just feel like you can't trust anything anymore because of what happened to you. And I think that's especially like, it's even worse because you already had the fear.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people might develop a fear because of a situation like that. But when you already have a fear and it comes to life, it like fuels like an irrational phobia. You get what I'm saying? Because the reality is like, and it's not necessarily irrational because it does happen a lot, but it becomes irrational when like you start to be like traumatized over everything. It's like you can't go in any Uber because now you believe that, like, you know what I mean? Like, it like feeds into a fear and then makes it no longer like protecting yourself. Now it becomes like an irrational like phobia where you start like not trusting anyone. And I think like that's why it's like worse for you for sure, because you already have like the fear.
I struggled so much with it. And I think a lot of people always ask like, oh, you should speak on anxiety. And I never really had my experience. And now I feel like I have a whole like different perspective to anxiety. And I think when this all happened, Veronica was coming back from Vegas that day.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I need to find a way to get to my condo and not call an Uber. And Veronica was, were you planning on renting a car? I don't think it was. Was it in the plans?
I was gonna rent a car to get there, I think, or like for a couple of days, and you
Yeah.
like rent the car for the whole time. They didn't tell me what happened. They had just messaged me like, do whatever you can to rent this car, because at a point I spent like 2 or 3 hours at the rental car area because I didn't have my insurance papers, like all this stuff. It wasn't the same price, and they were like, pay whatever you need to pay, do what you need to do to get this car. So I was like, okay, what the fuck?
Yeah, like you had no
I
idea
had
because
no
we
idea
weren't-
what was happening.
We had no idea. It happened that day, and
Yeah.
at night I was just like, hey, well, my girlfriend and her boyfriend don't want to go out, and now we're stuck in Miami, and my place is not in Miami. So like, how are we gonna get there? So I'm like,
Right.
okay, so Veronica's landing at this time, and then it was kind of like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna go out, like be out, because they didn't want to stay out late. So I was
Right.
like, we need to get out of their condo, and I need to wait for Veronica to pick me up. So I need to be somewhere where I feel safe in order to get picked up there. So where do we end up, guys? At Kiki on the River on a Sunday. Okay? It was because everything happened on Sunday. Kiki
Yeah.
on a River on Sunday. I just remember being like, what am I doing here? The last place on earth I want to be is at a club.
Yeah.
I just want to go home. Like I literally, like I think I cried myself in the bathroom. I was just
Yeah.
like, when is Veronica landing? When is she getting the car? When is she picking us up? Like
Yeah.
I think my friend, the way she dealt with it, she was just like, whatever, we're lucky we're alive type thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm drinking, I'm forgetting about this whole situation. And I'm like, I cannot drink.
Yeah.
Because the drink is drugged and someone's trying to get me. Like that's the type of anxiety I was at.
Yeah.
So when you picked us up, I was like, oh my God, like we're safe, you know, like
Yeah.
we're on our way to the condo. And then once we got to the condo, I literally did not want to do anything. I didn't want to get in any Uber. I was scared to leave the condo. I thought people were coming to the condo to get us. I had this like weird mindset where I was like, they had the address to our condo, you know? So when you think of it like that and you escaped, you think, well, they have our address. So like that was keeping me up at night, knowing that like they were going to try and come get us.
Right.
So I was really going through like something else. You know, I got in an argument with you and the friend that were there. You could explain like what happened and
Well, I just feel like you were in like a really irrational like mindset. Like you were like afraid of everything, but like we were in like a security gated location. Like there was a lot of things that it was like, you don't need to be scared right now. But like, obviously when you're talking to somebody who's like at a point where you're like fed into your phobias, it's like really hard to see clearly. And it's like, you're actually illogical, and it's so hard to like discuss with somebody that's in a mindset that is illogical when you're in a logical mindset. And then anything I say comes as like, well, I don't, you get what I'm saying? Like it's two mindsets that like, it's so
we're
it's
not
such-
seeing eye to eye.
We're not seeing eye to eye, and anything I'm gonna say, it's like, well, you don't understand me. But anything you're saying is like, well, you don't make sense. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm trying to tell you that actually what you're saying doesn't make sense. Like you're fine.
Yeah.
But there's obviously no confirmation that you can ever give someone in that sense. You know what I mean?
I think for
And, like,
me, it was like I had so many open tabs in my head
Yeah.
of what could be. And I think when Veronica was like, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, there's nothing to talk about. And you're like, no. And then you go on with what you were
Well,
saying.
we initially got into a fight because, well, I didn't say anything like for anything. I was just like, whatever you want, like we'll drive. Like there was some times where like you would say something that was like too much, and I would be like, no, like enough. Because again, like feeding into someone all the time and like babying someone's phobias also breeds for like sometimes it's like it's okay to make someone feel like, okay, like I just have to suck it up and go with it, because that's again how you get over your fears.
But I was another extreme.
Yeah. And like there was one point where like I was sharing a room with Alessia, and I woke up and she wasn't there, and I had messaged her and I was like, hey, where
This
are
is
you?
so bad.
Because it was like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was so confused why she wasn't home, because I remember her coming home. So I was like, that's so odd. And I remember her having like spoken to me about something, but you seemed fine. So I was like, that's weird. She came to bed, all was okay. And then when I woke up in the morning, 8 or 9 a.m., I don't remember what it was, she was not there. And I was like, this is really weird, because Ales's not the type of person to be even up early. So it's not like she's on a run. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was like, this is really weird that she's not here right now. And now I'm scared. And then I was messaging her. She was nowhere to be found. I'm waiting for my friend to wake up. And at this point, like it's like the minutes in the gas station. It's like every minute that I'm not getting a text back, I'm like, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
And then I go wake up my other friend, and I'm like, do you know where Alessia is? And she's like, no, like she had like woke me up and said something, but like I don't know where she is. Like she didn't say anything. And I was like, what the fuck? Like now at this point I'm tripping balls. I'm like, I have no idea where this girl is. And I think it was like 2 or 3 hours where your mom ended up messaging me, or I don't remember if you had answered me first or if your mom texted me first.
So let's just tell everyone where I was.
Well, yeah,
so my mom's really good friend also has a condo in that building, and I was just like up at night and in my thoughts, and I was like messaging my mom, and I was just like tripping balls, and she's like, "Sweetie, just for you to like sleep well, why don't you just go sleep at the neighbor's house, because you're so worried that the Uber driver knows your address.
Right.
Just go sleep somewhere else and just leave your friends to rot and get kidnapped."
Yeah.
So I just went there for peace of mind to sleep because my mind was racing.
Right.
And I didn't tell you guys I was going.
Right.
My mind was scatterbrained. I didn't lock the door.
So that's the thing. So when I woke up, that was the other thing, is the door wasn't locked. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
And when she finally reached out, she was like, oh, like, I'm just sleeping at my neighbor's house. Like, I just didn't feel safe and whatever. And I like was so angry because I was like, first of all, I'm already scared for everyone because I'm like, obviously it's like not an ideal situation. So already we're all like on high alert that I don't know where you are for so long. I'm tripping out. I'm like it's even feeding into my thing of like, maybe something could have happened. The door's unlocked. I'm like, now we're at risk of being fucking, let's just say they'd show up. We're here, door unlocked, everything. So I was like really mad. And I think at that point when you came back, you were like all chill about it. And I was like, look, I was like, I get what you're going through, but like, we're also all here. And like, I know that you're feeling some type of way, but like, we're also caring about your safety, and like, you cannot just leave without telling us where you are and leaving the door unlocked. And like, at first you were like, what the fuck, guys? And I was like, no, I was like, what do you want? Because
I didn't think I was gonna come back and you guys were gonna be angry because I have no idea, guys. I didn't lock the door. You know when someone just leaves to go sleep somewhere else, you're like, hey, like what's the big deal?
Right.
And then it was like when I felt like I was getting attacked, I was like, oh my God, like you have no idea what I'm going through. Like, how dare you like add that on to my plate? But then, like, in hindsight, now I'm like, yeah, Lila, you're fucking idiot. Tell your friends you're leaving. Lock the door, which I had no idea I didn't lock the door. I had no idea. My brain was like, like, just like somebody with no brain, just like doing things. And like, so it was hard for me to like apologize on my part because I didn't see what I was doing wrong because I couldn't see.
You're not in a clear mindset.
I'm not in a clear mindset. So Veronica was like, look,
so
we're fighting. I'm literally, I think, crying at this point. I'm literally like, I'm going through it. And she's like, look, let's talk about it. And I think like it was so hard for me to talk about it with my other friend because she didn't want to talk about it. Every time I would bring it up, she'd shut me down and she'd be like, I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Like that was her way to numb everything. Her coping mechanism was drinking. Mine was like, I need to talk about it. She didn't want to talk about it. So I didn't know who to talk about it with. So I was dealing with it all on my own. And then when you had got back and then that whole thing happened, you were like, we're going to talk about it. And I was like,
I had said like, what are you scared of right now? Because what happened. And you were like, and then like, you were like brushing me off. And I was like, no, like, tell me what you're afraid of. And you were like, well, then you started saying like, you know, I'm afraid they might come. And I was like, okay, let's unpack that fear. You're afraid they might show up here. I'm like, God forbid, because Uber, and I had said this to you after, I was like, Uber deletes your address as soon as like the trip is completed or whatever happens. Boom, address is deleted. They have no traces of it. Let's say they would have the address. The complex was like huge. It was like 15 buildings of like 50 apartments, right? So I'm like, they don't even have the apartment number here. Like they have just the simple location of the entrance. I'm like, they have no idea which location you're in at all. And I was like, not only that, but it's a gated community. There's security. There's no way that they would even get through the doors. And let's say they would.
And then I was like, and then I was thinking about that. You're like, how would they get through? I'm like, well, if they say they're in Uber Eats, they let them in. And you're like, okay, let's unpack that now. Like,
and I'm like, okay, even if they would get through the doors, I'm like, you think that they're going to drive around every single building, every single door and know where you are? And I think at that point you were like, okay, like actually like, now it's like starting to be like logical thinking again, where you're like, you're right. Like it kind of makes sense, you know, like they wouldn't be able to find us. They don't have my address.
Then you're like, and then if they get you, they have to risk the idea of all these people not seeing what was going on. Like, like.
Exactly. And then I was like, and also that being said, you're also going to be leaving through the only way out, which is through security again. I'm like, do you really think that this is possible? And I think me just like forcing you to think logically, like rewires your brain to be like, okay, I'm actually not in like a threatening situation, at least for like your house. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I was like, and also that, let's say they would even find your place. Like we're 3 people with many neighbors. We're in a locked door. Like there's so many ways that we're safe right now. So like, at least if you can put your mind at ease for that, then like that should be what you can at least like let go of, because it's very hard to be in like a state of distress and have no safety. Like sometimes like something distressing can happen. Like for example, like the Uber, like it's obviously next time you're going to get an Uber, you're going to be panicking, but at least you know you're safe when you get to your house.
Yeah.
But if you feel
that was
like
the scariest part, is I didn't feel safe even
anywhere.
at home.
Exactly.
So that was like the hardest part,
Yeah.
I think. And I think when Veronica kind of like cleared that for me, I swear to God, I felt a lot
Yeah.
better. I'm like, okay, I'm safe in the condo.
Right.
No one's coming for me in
Then
the
we
condo.
didn't leave the condo.
then now I'm not leaving the condo. Then I was just like, I need to go back home.
Yeah.
I need to find a flight. Like that was
But
the second thing. But
the other good things that happened too is like it's spring, and you know what that means. We do a little spring cleaning, you know, in the house, in the closet, and also in your pants. Because us ladies, we like a smooth little package to be working with. And what better to get yourself smooth, clean, and fresh than using Manscaped's products, whether it be the Lawnmower 4.0 or any of their hygiene products for men. They have literally everything you need, from ball deodorant for when it starts getting hot to a ball toner. They literally have so much, guys, and honestly, it smells amazing. My favorite scent is the Preserve from Manscaped. They have it in a body wash, in a cologne, my personal favorite, but all of their products smell amazing. So if you want to be smelling good and feeling fresh
and having your dick look bigger, then head on to Manscaped and use our discount code ChemicalX at checkout to receive 20% off your entire order. And guys, free shipping. No brainer.
no ballser. The other good things that happened too is like we were hanging out with people, and sometimes we had no choice but to take an Uber. Like it was like, I remember one night we went out and you're like, the last thing I want to do is take an Uber, and you like ended up having to take an Uber.
Yeah,
and
so I'll explain that. So we had all went out and we had taken a car to go out. And then my fear was like, I didn't want to go back to the condo once I was out. I wanted to stay out with everyone. I became that person who was like,
the person that it's like, go home.
go home. Like you went out, you went for dinner, you went for drinks, you went to the club. Why do you still want to chill? Like, bro, go home. And I'm the number one to always want to go home. And I didn't want to go home. I'm like, you guys are going to the strip club? No problem. I'm coming. Like anything to be out and to just like erase my memory from like anything happening. So I end up at a fucking strip club alone with all my friends, with like, you know, not close friends of mine.
Yeah.
With a guy I was like speaking to. And I was just like, okay, now we're leaving the strip club. My fear is happening again, you know, because you think I'm getting wasted at the strip club. No way. No way. I'm just out. I'm out, but I'm not alive. Like, don't talk to me. So they're all like, we're calling an Uber. And I'm just like, and the guy who I was with was like, oh boy, like, cause he knew what was happening. He's like, okay, she's gonna start tripping. And he had told me, it's okay, I'll get my private driver. And then, guys, you think private drivers are available at fucking 4 a.m. when you're leaving a strip club? He's like, I'm just gonna call this Uber, we're gonna be fine. I start stressing, and I know, like, I was in the Uber with like 3 guys, 4 girls, and I'm like, guys, I'm on guard. Like, I'm looking left, right, and everyone's just looking at me like, Alessia is not well.
Yeah.
She is not well. Like, somebody drug her, honestly. Drug her. Get her out of this mind state. Like, I feel bad for her. Fucking drug her. So, yeah, that was the first time I had taken an Uber, and it was with men. And I really, even with men, I didn't feel safe. And they're like, don't worry. Okay, we'll drop you off first. They're like babying me. They're like, you'll be the first one dropped off. Because then I started fearing, you know, it was going to be just me and the guy in the Uber. Then I'm like, I know what that situation is, you know?
At this point, you're getting off with them. You're saying, where's the bed that I'm going to be sleeping in?
No, literally.
You mind if I come in? They're
Literally.
Going,
so they were like, okay, we're going to drop you off first, so you'll be fine. So I'm like, okay, I felt ease in that. I'm like, I'm the first one. And then as we're driving, because the first location was theirs, they're like, whoa, I know we changed the address, but like,
we're right here.
Our condo's right here. You'll be okay. Like, we're not going to go all the way back to, like, we're right here. And I was like, I didn't speak. I was just like, do what you have to do, like, whatever. So then it's me and the guy in the Uber, and I'm like, we're dying.
Yeah.
We're dying. And they were asking me, they're like, what happened? What happened? And I'm just staring at the Uber driver. I'm like, maybe they're all on call. I'm like, don't ask me about this. I'm not talking about it. Like, the anxiety levels was nuts.
But it's because, like, you're really at this point stuck in, like, your irrational brain and your like illogical brain. And that's what I had initially explained to you is like anxiety, like the nature of anxiety is illogical most of the time. And like, yes, you can have fears and stuff, but when you start getting into a mindset like that, where like, even though you know you're literally with 3 guys, 3 girls, you're as safe as you could be, literally nothing could happen, you're still in this mindset of like, what could happen, and you start tripping out. And that's what I had, like when I had the talk with you, I'd explained like, you know, as for someone that I dealt with like anxiety and phobias like for a lot of my life, I kind of like was able to train my mind out of it. And like I explained to you, my way of doing things is like the more information you can get out of a situation will make you feel better, because anxiety stems from the fear of the unknown, and the fear of the uncontrollable, right? So the more you do know, the more you're satisfying the part of your brain that's saying, what if this, what if that? And I was like, and I had told you, like, go through every scenario that you're afraid of and find your exit strategy. You know what I mean?
I'm laughing so much right now because you have no idea what I did.
Well, 100%.
Wait, do you know what I did?
Well, you told me, you're like, as you're talking, Veronica, right now, I'm thinking about if someone will come in, I'm jumping out the back.
I'm like, okay, after Veronica had this talk with me, I go back in my room and I'm still twiddling, guys. I was fidgeting. I was like, just like, nobody wanted to be next to me. Nobody wanted to be with me. Like, and I get it. I was like, okay, Veronica said, find your exit. So let's just say they come from the front. How do I feel safe so I can sleep at night? I'm like, okay. So I literally went, I don't think I ever told you this. I went to get a knife in the kitchen and I went to put it on the balcony because the balcony was netted for bugs and stuff. So I'm like, I won't be able to get out if the intruders are coming from the front. So I need to put at least a knife near the balcony so that I can just cut it and like escape. Yeah. So I did that to feel safe. I was putting extra locks like on the bottom door. I was doing what I could to put my mind as much as at ease as I could. And these little things did help me feel better.
And that's the reality, is like sometimes just planning your way out or planning like, okay, what could happen and what like realistically, like I think with anxiety, we tend to just let our mind go on overdrive, spiral. And that's the worst thing you could do, because you start thinking things that realistically could actually never happen if you just break it down logically. And that's like what I do. Like, even if it comes down to, if you need to look up statistics, if you need to look up like for me, like one of my big
Veronica, I was searching up human trafficking statistics, and let me tell you what it didn't do to my mind. It made me think, fuck, I'm dying.
100%.
It's happening more than I thought. I can't believe my mind was never open to this.
So then maybe don't check statistics. Yeah. But I just mean like sometimes you just need to like put your mind at ease in any way that you can and like find your roots of like, okay, let's say my biggest fear happens. How am I getting out of it? How am I saving myself? What's the worst that can happen? And once you start training your mind to think logically and to give yourself the exit strategies, even though they seem like insane. Like if I would see you putting a knife, I'd be like, Alessia, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. But the reality is it gives you the peace of mind for all the other hours of the day that at least you could just be chill knowing that your knife is there. Does that make sense?
That fucking knife?
Because or else you're just spending every
minute. Does that make sense, Veronica? Don't ask me, ask the audience.
You're like, ask the knife.
Ask the knife. The knife is like, what did I do, man? Sometimes your exit strategy, guys, is just a knife. It's crazy.
When you started bringing up knife, I go, man, she was going to stab a guy. Never mind.
God.
I remember thinking, because I was thinking like, what could I do to make you feel safe? And I'm like, should I go and get her like a weapon? I'm like, are you kidding me? Give this girl a weapon. Give this girl pepper spray. She give me pepper spraying every person that comes to the door. Guys, this old lady came to the door that was...
Oh my God, we forgot. My dad, because we're not there all the time, tells this one Jeanette girl who lives in the area to go check up on our condo to make sure everything's
and
fine.
She has the code.
She has the code. She just, like, my dad knew I was there, okay?
Yeah.
My parents had no idea what was going on. I didn't want to worry my mom. My mom was going to fucking book me a flight back immediately. So I didn't want to tell any of them. So my dad had told this girl, Jeanette, at some point this month. At this point, I didn't tell my dad I was going to the condo. So just to check up on it, make sure there's no leakage, whatever. Just
because you were doing construction and stuff.
We were doing construction and stuff, and workers were there at a point. So to tell this Jeanette girl to just go check out the condo.
Yeah.
So at a point, guys, my anxiety is racing through me. Like, imagine all this is happening, and now you hear your code being unlocked.
no.
And all my friends are in the condo. There's no one else who could come in here. Why is the code being unlocked? Like, why do I hear?
First they knocked, and I was like, "Who is that?"
Oh, yeah.
And then the code started being in. But the way that your door was, it's like a frosted glass, so you could like see a figure, but like you can't see who it is. So like. She hears a knock and she like goes to look, and then we all hear like the code going in.
You're like,
and,
I want to be there for 11, but like,
she,
fuck.
yeah, I was like, okay. And the girl opens the door, but it's like an old lady, and she's like, oh, like I didn't know anyone was here. And Alessia goes, what? And she slams the door in the face of the old lady, and I was like. And I remember getting up and I was like, yo, what the fuck? And I went to open the door. I was like, I'm so sorry.
I closed it,
locked it,
and I was like.
And then she ran in the room and locked herself in the room. So I was like, what the fuck? So I went to the front door and I was like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't know anybody was here. Like her dad told me to come by and check. I guess like this was before, I was just doing what he asked. And she was trembling. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like we didn't expect anyone to come in. Like, no. But I'm like, and then I went and I'm like, Alessia, seriously, it's literally a grandmother. Like, and that's in that sense, I was like, I give this girl pepper spray. That poor nana is dead on the floor because she's pepper spraying everyone that's going to come around. I was like, the last thing we could do is give you a weapon.
Insane.
You found the knife on your own though.
No. But at that point, the knife wasn't there though. I remember it was like the first day. The knife wasn't there. I wouldn't have ran in the room. The room is
with
really
the knife to the lady.
Yeah. No, I would have ran to the back. Open up.
If I would have been seeing you, I'm going to let Domino's. You're there cutting the net. Okay.
No. Even after my friends were ordering Uber Eats, I'm like, tell them to leave it at the door. We're not unlocking. Because then when I was doing my research, I heard that like it happens even when, Uber Eats gets to your door and then like you open the door and then they come in.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, spiraling is an understatement. Like.
And I remember also like you left earlier and I had even said like I think that's the best thing you could do because again like you have to think you're in a place that you don't know have any family. Like you don't know anyone really there that you feel comfortable and safe. And I think when you're in a stressful situation you want to gravitate towards people that do make you feel safe.
Yeah.
And when you're always around people like friends that you like ish know, like it's never the same.
Ish know, I guess I ish know you.
No, I didn't mean us. I meant like the people we were hanging around with, and it's like, yeah, we know people, but you don't really have that like base. And also another thing is being in a city where you actually don't know your surroundings makes it scary, especially when you're afraid of something like that, because I think we feel comfort in knowing like our exit strategy or like our surroundings. And I think when you're somewhere where you don't know what's going on, like you in the Uber, like for example, if you were in Montreal, you'd be able to tell the area you're in, but you're in a place where you don't know, so your mind is in overdrive, always thinking like, are we going the right way? Like, am I safe? Like, what's going on? So I think the best strategy was for you to leave early because it's just like you're keeping yourself in a place you don't want to be.
Yeah. And I think even when I booked my flight back, I was like, oh my God, I booked it in 2 days. Like, I need to book it today. I need to leave today. I just need to leave. Like, it was really never in my life that I think I wanted to leave Miami to go to Montreal. Like, if anyone knows me, I'll do anything to get the fuck out of here.
Montreal sounds like the sickest place
I'm like,
I could ever
Montreal
go.
is home. Montreal is safe. Montreal is where I belong. Like, you guys have no idea. And the most stressful part about all this is I left my friends at the condo. I went home.
Yeah.
But I had previously, before New Year's, had booked that for my birthday, I was going to be away in New York.
Right.
Okay. So when I had got back, I had a week to figure out my life, my anxiety before my friends are all like, well, we're still going to New York, right? For your birthday. Everything's booked. I'm like, okay, now is when the real trauma happens for me because now I have to overcome how I feel, which is like impossible because I'm still going through it. But I don't want to stop living and not have my birthday in New York when I planned for this. Yeah. So like I was like spiraling again. I'm like, how am I going to do this now? Even if all my friends are coming, this should be the most exciting and amazing trip. I have to think about how we're getting around now. So like I started
especially
asking,
New York, out of all places that it's like.
I did my research on New York, human trafficking in New York. Forget about.
No, I was gonna say taxis and Ubers. No one has a car in New York. It's not like Miami where people actually you rent a car.
Yeah. Like, then I was like speaking with people. They're like, well, you're better off taking a taxi, like taxi. But then I'm like, well, then can you trace a taxi? So like I was really like, I need a private driver. I need a private driver for my birthday weekend. Couldn't get one. And then I was just like, okay. So then you guys know we were all taking Ubers together, and every time it was Uber time, like the stress I had, like anyone who was talking to me, I couldn't talk to them. I was always on the like
Door.
I was always at the door area. I was always asking for the window down. I think at a point my friends are drunk in the Uber laughing at me. I'm like looking around,
Well, I
looking
think
in the
every
back.
time we were laughing.
Every time.
Well, every time it was like, I'm glad you have the door, so we all die. No stress.
And like I couldn't even laugh with you guys. You guys were saying the most hilarious shit, and I couldn't even partake in it. And it was just like people were like she is not well. Like, what is she doing here in New York? Like,
But I think
it helped a little bit in the sense where like, okay, like you got to your destination. That was one time you're safe. The second time safe. Like, it was not the easiest, but it was actually what I didn't realize I needed to do in order to just like, I wouldn't say I'm 100% healed. I'll get in an Uber. I'm putting on my GPS, the windows down. I'm doing everything. But I'm getting a little bit better. Like, I could not step in an Uber alone.
Yeah.
And I haven't yet stepped in one alone. But I think to get over your fear is to almost like put yourself back in the fear.
100%. And I think the good thing is you did it soon after, because I think the mistake but the mistake people make is they develop a phobia or something scary happens to them, which triggers them to have a phobia. And then it takes them a very long time to ever do that thing again, because they immediately, the last thing they want to do is redo that scary situation. So it actually makes it scarier and scarier and scarier.
Because the more you don't do something, the more it becomes like...
The more you build a fear around it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it, in hindsight, was like really good for you to actually force yourself, well, you had no choice to be in these situations, because like you right away ripped off the Band-Aid and right away put yourself back into the situation, so that you were like, okay, like getting over it little by little. Because I can imagine if you didn't do that, you'd probably still now not want to go in Ubers, because you're in Montreal, you could take your car everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think had you not done that, had you not put yourself in that situation, you would have been a lot further behind in like your healing process than you are now.
Absolutely. Just a funny story, just to add on to this whole traumatizing experience, is the guy I was with obviously knew what was going on. So when we had dropped off the other party, like when they were like, hey, well, we're getting out because like our place is right here, like figure it out. So now it's just me and him, and I'm just like, he's talking to me. Guys, I don't know who he's talking to, but it's not me, okay? At a point, I'm like, looking back, this is so funny, but it's so sad. I look at him and I go, I don't feel safe. He's like, okay, you're safe. You're with me. Like, I promise you. Like, I'm looking at the address. We're going, you're literally 15 minutes away from your place. Like, we're driving. I'm like, I don't like the way the Uber driver is looking. I'm like, I don't feel safe. I want to get out. He's like, I don't know how to deal with this girl. Like, he's like, I thought she was a chill girl, man. I didn't realize I'm dealing with a psychopath. I'm like, I need to get out. I'm not safe. And he was like, I think when you're going through that, you never want to be with somebody who's like, okay, relax.
Yeah.
Like, we're staying in. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. Because
I think both are bad.
I think both are bad. But he was like, no problem. We're going to tell the driver to stop us at the gas station. So I'm back at a gas station, guys. I'm getting out of an Uber. He's like, he's just in the gas station with me. And he's like, I'm like, call your private driver. You said you had a private driver. Why did you lie to me? So I'm literally yelling at him. Guys, I'm crying in the gas station. I'm like, why'd you lie to me? Like, Alessia, you're 15 minutes away. You're almost home. Why are you starting this whole spiel now? Like, irrational thinking. Like, just like, and now I'm like, you know what? It's actually probably fucking 5 a.m. in the morning. The birds are starting to chirp. You're not safe in the gas station. Like, I don't know when you thought the gas station was more safe. The guy at the gas station, seeing me cry, him trying to console me, it looked like an abusive relationship. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I honestly think like I'm going to go to jail. He's like, I'm stopping in the gas station for you. And like, it's looking worse. So now he doesn't have his private driver. We're in the gas station. And what do we got to do, Veronica? We got to call another Uber. So let's just maximize the anxiety again. Let's get back in another Uber. So I'm like, can't you call like a specific, now I'm like trying to think of what car will make me feel more safe. He's like, look, we can take a Tesla. In the back of a Tesla, there's like the escape thing, so you can jump out at any point. I'm like, ooh, take a Tesla. Beautiful. So he calls a Tesla. And at this point, he's just looking at me, and I was like, oh my God, like, just like, dealing with this fear. He's just like eating. I just remember he's eating like dibs, and he was just in the gas station dealing with me. And like, I don't know why, like, I felt so much safety in him at that point, because if I think back to what would have happened if I was with like another person, they would have literally been like, shut the fuck up. Like, we're not stopping. So I think I felt a lot of safety in him being like, at any point, if you want to get out, we'll get out. I was like, okay, like I felt more trusting in that. But then it was like, it was just a fucking hilarious. Like looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe like.
He was like, probably like, man.
He was just like, what the fuck, bro? I just wanted a chill girl. Like, who the fuck is this? And the thing is, he didn't call the Uber. The other people had called the Uber. So all of a sudden, they see on the maps that we're stopped at a gas station. So he's writing, yo, are you guys good? What the fuck? Where are you? He's like, we got out. Like, it's fine. But like, oh my God, what I put people through, you guys have no idea. Like, it was just like, I was literally apologizing to everyone, but only like weeks after, and feeling safe and knowing I have my car and knowing I don't have to get in an Uber. Then I was like, sorry, guys.
But do you feel like now, like, how do you feel like your thought process is now?
I think time heals everything. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that with everything in life. I think I think fighting the fear and time is a recipe for like feeling better.
Yeah.
Am I 100% healed? Absolutely not. Yeah. Like now I'm already like going on another trip, and I'm already thinking about like, if I'm renting a car, like how I'm going to go about it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I'm not definitely 100% healed, but like you said, like I just try and put the worst scenario out there and then kind of like puzzle solve it.
Yeah.
To put my mind at ease. And I think for anyone who's dealing with anxiety, well, either one, have a best friend like Veronica who's just gonna like sit down and make it logical for you. Because I think what a lot of people don't realize too is that you need to talk about it. Like, I really struggled with like, I don't struggle with talking about it because, guys, you know, I could not shut up. Mm-hmm. Like I won't shut up, but like, you need to talk about it. And some people, everyone deals with it differently, but I needed to talk about it. You know what the scariest thing was like, I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that like I got out of that situation and like what would have been if I didn't. And I think that was eating me up alive, is like, I'm alive right now, but I don't know why. And I think a lot of people will like try and think like, why me? Why did I escape? Like, you almost think like, where would I be if I didn't get out of this? Why was I sitting on that side? Why was I not sitting behind the passenger? Like, you almost start to believe like everything does happen for a reason. And there was totally a reason for me sitting there to be able to see that. What would have been? And then I start thinking like I'd be a sex slave and I would get out to my location and then I'd be injected and then I'd be put on a boat. And like my mind was thinking of all these things. And it's just like, that was the hardest part, is kind of like beating yourself up over the fact that like you shouldn't be here right now and like you're lucky. And I think that's the scariest part about going through anything in life is the unknown of what would have been. You know, and it's like easy for people to be like, well, no, like it's just wasn't your time, like it wasn't for you. And it's like easier said than done. And then I start thinking like, what was the reason for me having to like live longer and like escape? And then I felt so much like anxiety for people who have gone through this. And I couldn't help but think of like people who this happened to and didn't escape. Like that was really scary to me too. And then I was just like, I was like, oh my God, like I want to warn people. I have so many friends who are here taking Ubers and don't even think of these things. Like I remember posting on my Instagram story without giving context, because there was no way I was giving context at that point. I was just like, guys, just be careful. For me, the fact that the intercom at the airport was like a sign for me, and me breaking my nail and having another girl tell me, like, these were all signs in my story of why it didn't happen to me. And being aware. I think one thing I never lack is like being aware in situations. And I think my mom instilled that like at a young age. So I think if there was anyone who would escape, I feel like it would have been me. Right. But also like, I wonder if living a life where my mom didn't instill this fear in me is a good or bad thing, you know, because it's good and it's bad. It's
100%. And I even said, you know, had it been me in that situation, had it even been me in the car, like knowing me, I would have overlooked any like weird signal and just been like, no, it's fine. It's all fine, because I don't think the same way you think. And in that situation, obviously the way you think is what helped you. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's like, for me, I would have just been like, I don't think the worst in those situations. I'm just like, it's fine. Like, it's weird. Yeah, but it's fine. And I think like that, and I had even said that to you, like for sure me, like I would have I would have never noticed anything. I would have been in that car wherever it was bringing me. And I think that's the thing too that I had said is like, you have to stop your thought process at what happened. You only know what happened. You don't know anything else. So stop creating a story that you don't know,
and that
because
you can't control.
You can't control it, and you don't even know if that was going to happen or what would have happened. So it's like, just leave your mind at what you do know and what you do know happened, and that's it. Because if you start creating like, this is what was going to happen and this is where they were going to take me and this is what's going to be, it's like, just as much as that could have happened, the same could have also not happened, and it could have just been a bunch of weird circumstances that happened to end in nothing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you bring yourself so much on the worst situation possible, you're creating another anxiety for yourself that didn't even happen.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of what anxiety is it's a lot of fear over things that don't happen, that haven't happened or whatever. So I was like, you also have to like stop yourself at like what did happen, and that's all you know. All you know is what happened.
Yeah.
Outside of that, don't start creating like a narrative of like, these guys were here and the guy here was in on it and like this is where they were going to take me, because that's only going to make it worse for you, you know?
I know. I think the thing that suffered the most with this was the fact that I'm spontaneous, because I think it took away a lot of that for me. Like, you guys know I always talk about like, yeah, take that trip, do that thing. Like, after this, I felt like floor is lava. Like, I felt like it ripped a part of my spontaneousness. Is that the words? Yeah, I feel like I started to control situations instead of letting things happen like naturally, and I'm mad about that part, and I'm trying to get that back. I'm not healed in that sense. Like, now I'm like controlling situations, and it made me start to think like, I don't know, like now I'm ready to have a partner and I want to travel with them and I want to feel a little bit more safe. Like, I've done all these things where I'm like, oh, you're good. And now it just made me like, you know, I don't know. I think the thing I look for the most in a relationship is feeling safe. And I think it was even more apparent after what happened. I was like, I just want to feel safe with my partner and anyone I have in my life almost, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, like, obviously the good thing is to also feel safe, like, within yourself and, like, do what you can to be safe on your own. Because I think, but I'm saying, like, I think if we lean too much on someone else, like, that's also not good. But obviously, like, you did what you could.
Yeah, like, even my girlfriend, she's like, I'm here going to Italy for 3 months. People say, like, be careful. And she's like, I'm roaming the streets. She's like, now, like, I'm looking at it a bit differently after this incident. Like, I don't think I would just go alone. Like, I kind of want to do it with a partner now. Like, it's like these little things, these fears that happen that you're like, maybe, like, it's good to live a naive life, but, like, it's hard to still have that mentality after something happens.
Absolutely. And I think it's like, it's a blessing and a curse, because the reality is living a naive life, yes, is blissful, but it also puts you in situations, like I said, I would be in that car injected going to God knows where on whatever boat, you know what I mean? Like, I would have been like, yeah, I love the windows up, it's fine, you know? Turn the music up,
He's
actually,
so nice,
they don't hear my screams.
He's so nice to actually put the air conditioning, man. Why can't every Uber just do that?
Fuck, I hate when the windows are down. But, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, it's a blessing to live naively, and you could slide on by with life and nothing bad could ever happen. And, you know, the curse is living in a life of anxiety, of like assessing every situation. It's shit, and it's shit most of the time, but it also, if there is a situation that would arise, at least you're prepared for it, at least you're aware. And I think it's just trying to find that balance of like keeping yourself safe but still living the life that you want to live. And I think sometimes you need to take risks. You know, traveling anywhere is a risk. I mean, even just going to Mexico on a resort is a risk right now. And I think it's like, sometimes you need to take the risk for the reward, but also like, don't go out and do things that are like, okay, very, you know what I mean? Like, you're putting yourself in a situation that's not ideal. So I think it's just about having that balance of like being able to live and knowing that certain things could happen, but still doing it. It's like getting on a plane, you know, we know there's a small chance that plane could crash, but we still do it because we want to explore the world, or we want to visit new places.
Right. I remember you were telling me a story where you were like in LA and you were walking through like a strip where you started to feel really like stressed, but then what, you left and you were good?
Well, I remember, so I'm really, and I spoke about this in the past, I'm really not a scared person in like cities, and I've always felt comfortable being by myself. And I think the first time I felt fear was when I lived in Australia by myself, and I did not know anyone there. And I think that was the most isolated I ever felt, because I was like, whoa, like, I have no one to, I don't even know the 911 number. Like I
Yeah.
remember having this like wave of like fear. And I think being in that situation, I even more so developed a tough character. But when I was in LA, I remember one of the first times I went to LA, might have even been the first time I went to LA. I remember it was a time where everybody was like, you know, the crime rate is really high. People are getting robbed left and right. You know, it's like really dangerous right now.
And also like human trafficking is very close to like Mexico and stuff. Like in LA, it's like it's like the second place. Texas is first. No, this is somebody who did her research. Texas is first, LA is second, and I think Miami might be like third or fourth. Anyways,
I wasn't afraid of that at the time. But what I had did is I was staying on the Sunset Boulevard, and I took an Uber to go to a breakfast place just to pick up like a little breakfast sandwich. And the Uber was a 5-minute drive, okay, on Sunset Boulevard. So I'm not thinking at this point like I'm just thinking I'm staying in my area. And I went on got in the Uber and we started driving. And as we were driving, keep in mind this was a 5-minute drive. Like very abruptly, I found like the surroundings just got like different. Like it's definitely seemed a little bit more of a sketch area to be in. And I was like,
and that's
like,
the thing with LA. There's really like
it's really like
you're
one
in a good
street to
spot
the
and-
next.
yeah.
Yeah. So we had like just, I guess, because where I was staying, I guess was just on the border. So as soon as we just passed that little area, all of a sudden we seemed to be in like a sketch area. And the breakfast place that I had put in to go to was in like a strip mall. And it was kind of like an egg slut type of breakfast place. You know what I mean? Like just like a quick, fast, whatever. But I didn't look where it was or anything. And it was in a strip mall. And I remember I had my sister's dog with me. And I'm like, Minga, the most dog that could never save me in my life. I have to save him.
Actually, they're going to steal you and the dog.
Literally.
That's actually like real estate right there. You want to just throw him into the bag.
So I remember, and I was wearing like, just like, and it's in situations like this where you start thinking like, I wish I didn't wear this. I wish I didn't do my makeup. And I know it's bad to say, but like you start being like, I wish I just had a sweater to cover my body or something because I feel so naked. And obviously it was summer. I was in like a workout outfit, like tights and like a tank top or something. And
show that body.
The Uber, like as the Uber was dropping me off, I remember being in the Uber and being like, I don't want to get out of this car because I could, in the parking lot, like there was like a bunch of guys, like very gangstery, like just lingering around, like a guy with no top, like leaning on his car like this. Like I could tell it just seemed sketch, but my mind is always to just push through, you're going to be fine. So I forced myself to get out of the Uber. And I went to order my sandwich, but I was literally trembling because everyone was like, you know, when you could tell everyone is eyeing you. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to get robbed right now. Like, I just don't feel like I'm at the right place. My fear was that I was going to get
trafficked.
No, my fear was that I was going to get robbed. Like what was happening, it was very much like you're going to get robbed type of situation. And I was just like in there and it would specifically said on the door, like, wait for your order outside. Like you can't be inside. And I didn't give a motherfuck. I was literally standing at the window.
And you're already
trembling.
calling an Uber, right?
And I had already called an Uber. The second my other Uber left, I called another Uber because I was like, I need to just like, I was almost going to leave without getting my thing because I was like, I so don't feel safe in this situation. And obviously nothing happened, but like.
I have a question. Was the breakfast worth it?
Definitely not. It wasn't even good.
It wasn't good?
It wasn't even good. But I just remember like that for me was the most scared that I ever felt. And I was like, I never felt more like
a pit in your stomach.
Just like vulnerable actually was what I felt. I felt really vulnerable. I felt really alone. And I felt like this guy could just rip my bag off my body and rob me. And like, I can't do anything about it. Like I'm literally so alone.
See, it's crazy that you're thinking rob because I would be like, here, take it all. Like robbing is the least of my concerns. I'm like, are they taking me?
But I think it's just like assessing the situation also. And it wasn't like that. Like it didn't feel like I'm going to get kidnapped in this car. It felt very much like somebody's going to pull out a gun and rob me, you know? And I think I was just, I never felt more scared than in that situation because I was alone, because of like, I was just like dressed, I guess, like in tight clothing. And like, I just felt like this little girl, like I literally felt 5 years old. And I don't know how to more to explain that, but I felt like this little girl that we could just like push over. And I never felt more like, because I carry myself, I'm very like, I find I'm very carry myself in a way where it's like, don't fuck with me in a way. And like, I feel that for myself. But in this situation, I was like I was literally like, help, can you walk me to my car? Like I felt so like
a baby,
like a baby, lost. Like I didn't know what to do. But like obviously nothing happened, but it's just to say in those situations you feel so helpless. Like you
Yeah.
feel like this guy could just come and take what he wants from me, and I can't do anything about it because I'm alone.
I think that's another thing that's really scary about being a woman. It's like dressing a certain way. It's like we can't feel like we do it for ourselves. Like we're like, okay, we
Yeah.
don't care, but it's like it's scary to think about how other people perceive us.
It's also the environment too. It's like
Yeah.
that same outfit. If I was walking down near my hotel, it would have been nothing. But the fact that I was in an area where I just felt so vulnerable, I
Yeah.
was like, I wish that I looked like a boy right now. Like I wish I was in
Yeah.
joggers and a hoodie and I didn't have this dog with me. Like I wish I was in the scraggliest clothes.
It's crazy.
You know?
It's and that's why we say like women are so sexualized, and it's like it's hard. It's oh my god, I'm like literally have shivers.
Yeah.
So
And it just, I think it's just crazy. And it's crazy to think like we always want to go off and show off, and people want to show off their brands. They want to show off their purses. They want to
even
show off their
bodies,
jewelry.
like even after what happened, I was like a bit like I was covering up more.
Yeah.
It really like affected. Now I'm back naked again, guys. You could tell I'm feeling good again, but I really changed.
Yeah. And I think it's not because, like, obviously you can wear what you want, and I don't think that it, just because you're wearing something revealing means that you should get fucking kidnapped. But I
Yeah.
think it's just these things that we feel we need to do for our own protection. And
Yeah.
it's like, it shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't.
But it's just insane, you know? It's crazy. Especially, I think it's the most is when you're outside of your, like, city.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me where I start to feel like I don't know, because I don't know the streets. I don't know where I am. I don't know if I'm in a safe area or not a safe area. Like here, it's like I know the borders. I know even if I'm in an unsafe area, I know where I am. I know what's up. But I feel like outside of your city, you're just like so out of your comfort zone, and you don't really know how to navigate the situation. And it's like, who am I going to call? Like if something happens, who am I calling? You know? So I think it's just there where you're like so much more on high alert. But I think it's good to be aware. It's good to be careful. But I think there's
don't also
like,
make it consume your life.
don't make it consume you. Don't make it run your decisions.
I also
don't make
thi-
decisions
yeah.
based off the fear that something could happen.
I also think another thing that helps is like when you're spiraling and you're like, oh my god, I know this is gonna do. You have to trick your brain and just like think of anything else. Be like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I have to do today? Like anything you could do to trick your mind from going in that hole will help you.
Yeah.
Like anything, like something you have to do, something like you're like, okay, yeah, I know I'm doing this. Like you have to like play with your mind.
So there's actually this thing that I do that it's for anxiety, and it's when you're having an anxiety attack, or when you're, well, I guess spiraling would be an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
But like when you're having an anxiety attack, it's like it's called like the 3-3-3 method. And basically what you do is you have to like, and it's a way to like trick your mind. So basically, if you're having a panic attack or overthinking something, you think of like, name 3 things you could see. So I'd be like, okay, telephone, okay, like tripod, okay, light, and then 3 things that you hear. So then you have to try and like listen for like 3 sounds. Okay, so like I hear like a girl talking behind me. I hear like the car in the front. I hear like the fan going. And then
Oh my
yeah,
God.
and then I think the other thing is 3 colors or something like that. You have to focus on 3 colors. So like blue thing. And once you put yourself through that, you find in the end, not only did you change your mind, you're no longer panicking, but you start thinking, like when you start thinking blue, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that I had to do this thing. And then your mind automatically just switches to other things. A lot of the times I don't even get through all the 3 things because I end up just wandering off in my mind. But it's a really good tactic to
Interesting.
like calm your mind, calm yourself, and help yourself think about something else.
Wow.
And like I use it in a lot of scenarios where I start like panicking. I always do that, and it just like clears my mind. I think it's a really good tactic.
Well, yeah, I
honestly.
think we should have started the episode with that.
Yeah.
Actually, you gave me all the help with this Uber situation, and you never told me this one. What the fuck? She's like, yeah, I use this, but I'm gonna keep this one for me. Like, what the fuck?
It's something I'm pretty sure I did tell you.
I don't know, Veronica.
You're in a bad state.
I was in a bad state.
I'll gaslight you and tell you that I told you.
You could have told me, literally, my guy at that point could have been like, I cheated on you. I fucked your mother. I did this. And I'd be like,
You'd been like,
can you bring me to the car?
you would have been like, can you get a private driver?
Like, literally, I could have heard anything. And I would have been like, it's okay. I forgive you. Can you bring me? Like, it was nuts. Anyway, guys, I hope for anyone who's listening to this is, aware that human trafficking, 1, is happening. 2, if you have any type of anxiety, I hope this episode just like helped you in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should have.
I think the people with fears of getting kidnapped didn't help their anxiety. Maybe it made it worse, but it's okay.
Well, I also wanted to make people aware. Like, fuck Uber. Like, I'm not even going to get into that. But I just, if it can help one person, you know? Because a lot of people also go through, like, suing and stuff. And then, like, the rights of that is, like, you cannot speak about it.
Yeah.
And if this can help one person or save one person's life, like, or help somebody who deals with anxiety on the daily, then we did our job here today.
Absolutely. Finally, a useful episode.
Fuck. Finally, one not about fucking men. Fuck
140
men.
useless episodes, but we got one.
We got one. We got one. This is the one.
Ciela, that's the reason you had to get out of that car for this episode.
And I even thought, I'm like, wow, like I would have been kidnapped. My life would have been taken. I went, fuck Veronica. She really, the podcast picks up. Good for her, honestly. One person's winning out of this. Girl went missing in Miami. My God, the fucking viewers would have.
I would have to make a flyer. My co-host got kidnapped.
You'd be flying. I'm actually so sorry. I'm so sorry you have to do this the long way.
I lost out on so many views. It's crazy. So selfish. You couldn't just stay in that car. That'd have been amazing.
Anyways, guys, we love you. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening.